Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have a Les Paul Standard on the bench today. We're doing a restring, a cleanup, and a full setup on this guitar. I'm going to try to talk him into putting locking straps on it, shallower strap locks on it. That's what I use on all my instruments. He has already dropped it once, so it should be a no-brainer. We'll see what the customer says. Let's get to work. You'll notice I'm getting better with the camera lottery. So we're going to de-string. The first thing I always do, as you know, is check. I've had this guitar before. He bought it brand new and wasn't happy with the way it was playing, and of course, you know, this in-store setup deal, you know how that goes. He had it for a month, and I just kept telling him, give it to me, I'll fix it up. And sure enough, the in-store setup was not where it needed to be. Capo at the first fret, grab the body joint, and you're going to 12 thousandths at the 7th fret. It's been very humid. We're in the middle of summer. It is just kissing 12 thousandths at the 7th fret. That is where I left it the last time that I restrung it and cleaned the guitar. Again, not to reiterate myself, it tells me a couple of things. Even with wild humidity swings in Florida, it could be dry and very dry air in the winter and very humid, 90% humidity in the summer. Neck relief can change. It has not changed on this neck. Very stable instrument. This is about as real as you get with a guitar. Very beautiful instrument. It is I believe it to be a 22 model, so it's a very, very current model. I am going to check pickups and stuff. It's dirty. He plays it, and I love that about him. He plays this guitar almost daily. It is his #1 instrument, of course, and I have worked on many of his guitars. So, you know, that being said, I am sure, I am 100%. There were no complaints. He just said, let's do a restring on it. And of course, with, you know, whenever I do a restring, I check everything. I just can't abide by, you know, in the rhythm, so that should only be the neck pickup. Very good. Zero that down. And let's move to the bridge pickup. That's a 10. Very good. Middle position should be both. Everything's up to 10. Let's start everything at 10. Very good. Tone's working, volumes are working, pickup selector is working. I wouldn't expect anything other than that from this guitar. It is a beautiful instrument. I am going to go through and check all the fasteners on it, of course, once we de-string it. I already took time to check this measurement. I'm going to check the string height now. I have a thing about saddles on Gibsons, and I have worked on a million of them. And sometimes these saddles bevel this way, and sometimes they bevel that way. And I'm thinking, you know, Gibson's been building guitars for a lot of years. Why would some of these bevels be backwards? And two of these, and only two of them, are beveled that way, and all the other four are beveled that way. I noticed it the first time I worked on this guitar for him and set it up. against my better judgment, I didn't flip them around. I'm going to do it this time. And make sure that we're getting, good break angle from the stop bar. You don't want your string touching the bridge. And if you can slide a piece of paper in there, you're golden. And we're going to probably have to do that again because, like I said, I think I'm going to pull these two saddles out and flip them around, unscrew them, re-screw them back together. I don't know why they would be like that, and they shouldn't be. Against my better judgment, I'm going to pull them out. I'm going to wait to talk to him. He loves the way this guitar plays, but I don't like that. I know that they need to be turned around. And another one of my pet peeves is the intonation screws are facing the wrong way, and that's the way he took delivery of it. Now, I don't know if the in-store setup guy, the in-store guitar technician did this stuff. There would be no reason to flip that around, and these intonation screws should be facing this way, towards the back of the guitar, not towards the pickup. I think the reason I left them is because the pickup isn't in the way, but they're supposed to be back here. And this, I know, I'm going to get a million comments. This is an age-old debate. That and always the G string on a guitar. So he asked for just a restring and a cleanup. I guess I'm going to, I don't know. I really want to flip those saddles around because I have OCD and it bugs me. But it's an age-old debate whether they go this way or that way. So maybe we'll just leave them. Let's de-string it and see where we're at. I would have left this at somewhere around 4 or 5, probably below 5/64, and 3 on the high E. So let's just double check my work from the last time. Make sure the guitar fairy didn't come and mess up my work. 5/64s. Just over 3/64. I think this side needs to go down slightly. I don't think 5 is optimum on a Gibson. I don't know. Somebody might have got after that. Or it's possible the guitar settled and it changed a micron. So let us de-string it. We checked the neck relief. We checked the string height. I know where I leave these, and that's where I left it before. Good, beautiful. That one's a little close. We're going to have to address that. Let's de-string it, and I'm going to talk to him about maybe putting some Schaller. I use Schaller strap locks on all of my own guitars. And he already mentioned to me that he dropped this guitar one time and put a chip in it somewhere. I haven't found it, but I will when I clean it up. The strings are not terrible, but he said restring it and set it up, and that's what we're going to do. That is what we're going to do. So stand by while I de-string it. You've seen this exercise before, but I'm going to walk everybody through it one more time. But I'm going to save a little video time while I de-string the entire guitar. Now remember what I always say over and over and over again. If you're going to restring your guitar at home, and there's nothing wrong with you doing and learning how to do that, do them one string at a time. Take off, start with the low E. Take it off. Fish a new string through there, and follow my tutorial on how to do your wraps properly. Do one string at a time. Do not knock them all off. If you knock them all off, guess what? You can change neck relief. And unless you're prepared to adjust that or know how to do it, be careful. So my advice is one string at a time. Stand by. Okay, so the strings are off. I'm going to do a cleanup on this. This is getting a full cleanup. And now, on a newer guitar, you would say, well, how dirty could it be? Well, it's pretty dirty. It's got a lot of gook on it, and it is due for I'm going to scrub down the neck, and I'm going to treat it with a little linseed oil. Those of you who have seen this exercise, you're going to watch it again. Those of you who haven't, this is my method. I use a little non-silicone cleaner on the fretboard and a very soft brush. And all we do is clean, 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 and then wipe it off. I'm going to do this a couple of times. And it doesn't take much before you realize just how dirty a guitar neck can get. That's DNA, that's finger oil, that's sweat. It could be whatever you had on your fingers when you started to play it. It could be, if you're a gigging guitar player and you're in a bar or a venue or what have you, that's cigarette smoke. So we do this exercise twice. And believe me, this guitar deserves this, and my customer deserves this. I guarantee you that nobody else is taking this care at the store, or for that matter, any other guitar techs that I'm aware of go through these exercises. Not to punch anyone or start any trouble, but my players, my customers deserve this kind of service, and that's what we give them. So once we clean it and scrub it down a little bit, we're going to treat it with some boiled linseed oil. Wood is a living, breathing thing, and it needs to be treated. And especially when you live in a place like I do where you get wild humidity changes, you want to put something on that neck. And this is what I call dressing the neck. Fret dressing is a little bit different. Now I'm looking at his frets. They do not need to be erased, and I'm not going to, because every time you put a fret eraser on there, you're taking, fret erasers are sanding. You're sanding a little bit of that fret wire off. This guitar is still very young in its life. It does not need that. Cleaning it, get the goop off of it, and treat it. I'm going to treat with boiled linseed oil. Now this stuff, and you've seen my videos before. Those of you who have not, make sure that you like and subscribe. If you see something that you dig and you haven't seen before, you put a little bit of boiled linseed oil. Now this stuff will treat the wood, keep it moist, keep it breathing, and if there's an imperfection in the fretboard, it will fill it up and get hard to a certain extent. And it also will bring it right back to life. I'm sure the camera can see the difference between here and here. I think I'm about ready to get some more linseed oil. And you just kind of rub it in liberally, but don't goop it on. Sorry if you're seeing my bald head. That tends to happen. You put it on, you apply it, and just let it sit for a few minutes. You can see it puts a sheen on there. It doesn't take a lot. Apply it liberally, but don't go crazy. And after a minute or so, go back where you started, and just very carefully and lightly, and you're using just a regular paper towel. Yeah, it'll leave a couple of dusties here and there, but it doesn't matter. We're going to wipe it down. And all this is doing is taking off the excess. And if you think it doesn't matter and it doesn't help, you're wrong. You're wrong and I'm right. I was taught by some very knowledgeable people about how to keep the guitar in top quality playing condition. And my mantra is every player deserves to have their instrument play as well as it can possibly play. And sometimes you have to do these little exercises as maintenance. And I don't mind doing it for my good customers. For all of my customers, I should say. Let me rephrase. Yeah, a couple of little things get on there. They come right off. They're not going to stay on there. Beautiful. You see the difference. Even my camera can pick up on that. I'm going to pause quickly. Now, I don't know if the camera will pick up on this, but you see, this is just from normal playing, and the body gets that on it. You can certainly see it on the pickups. They're dirty. They need to be clean. They just need a little love. I'm going to do that. This is the product I use. You've seen it in other videos. I am a music nomad. I tout their products. I use them on my own guitars, and if they're good enough for my guitars, they're good enough for yours and his. Stand by. So I did the front of the guitar, and I don't show that because it's a lot more intricate, and you got to go around this and that. And usually on a guitar that's in good shape, all you need to do is a little bit of wipe down. Now, every once in a while, you're going to run into a spot that the wipe down isn't going to do it. And the light will catch it just so. And then you have to use a different product on it. Now, this one, I found a couple of those spots, and oddly enough, it was down in that little pocket there. And I use a different kind of polish on it. It's kind of almost like a compound. It is such a light compound that, you know, it's not like a buffing compound you'd use on a car. But it's this stuff. And you can use it on anything. It's safe. It's so light. But if you get a spot and you're wiping it, and it's not coming off, trust me, Music Nomad guitar polish will make every guitar look brand new again. I don't see any on the back because rarely do you get a problem on the back. I was hoping I could use some, but I'm looking at the way the light is catching it, and there's nothing sticking out here. I found some right here, that's where he strums, so probably stuff got dripped down onto the nitro cellulose finish, and that will stick in there, and it doesn't seem like it'll ever come off, but it does. You just have to use a little more product. Same thing I found here, and down in the horns. It seems like everywhere something is settling, that's where we find that goop. But we cleaned it all up nicely. We did the back, and we're going to do the back of the neck right now. You saw us do the front of the neck. I really believe that this guitar is a beauty, and it really rarely needs more than just a basic cleanup. But, you know, to his credit, the owner, he brings it to me regularly. And he is so happy when he gets it back because to him it feels brand new. And I like that. I like that he tells me that. I want that feedback because, look, I'm only human. If I give him his guitar back and he goes, Len, you missed something. Blackjack, what the hell happened here? I would like to hear that. Of course, I never hear that because I take the time and the care to do every little thing for my customers. Guitar's cleaned up. Guitar is cleaned up. I'm trying to see where he said the strap came. Oh, there it is, right there. The strap came off and put a little bit of a love kiss on it right there. Yeah, that's character. That guitar will wear that for the rest of its life. We could fix it, but I don't see any reason to. It's down there. You'll never see it. This is the business end. This is where all the money's made. This is where all the goodies are. This is where your money's made. Unless you're a lead player, then you're making your money over here. Beautiful guitar, beautiful instrument, and he does take care of it. Like I said, he brings it to me regularly whenever it needs to be restrung, and I let him decide that. He has actually brought me this guitar from time to time, at least once, and said, go ahead, do your thing on it. And I check everything, and it doesn't need strings. It doesn't need any adjustment. Everything is exactly how I left it, and I give it back to him. He goes, how much do I owe you? I go, nothing. Today's different. We're putting strings on it. We are actually doing a full cleanup. Now, just to let you know, even though all the adjustments were good when we started, I was over here working on this and wiping it down and cleaning it, so you know our little two pneumatic knobs, they've been moved. So I'm going to string it, and then we're going to do all the setup on it. So stand by. Okay, we're back. Cleaned up the guitar. We cleaned the backs, the sides, everything. We have the strings put through the stop bar, all of them at once. This is how I do it. I am not going to turn around these saddles. He likes it the way it is. It's just an OCD thing for me. One of these days I'm going to do that for him and not tell him and see what he says. You have seen this exercise many times. Where's my little pencil? Now, a lot more on acoustics, but I always put a little bit of graphite down in the nut slot. The string will grab that, and it's a natural lubricant without being oily and goopy. Some people agree with that, some people don't. We're going to live here in the tuner. Get them all lined up. Get all your string holes, your peg holes facing the same way. We're going to, okay, saddle, nut, string is going to wind around here. You've seen this exercise before. If you haven't, pay attention. It's going to live here. 1.5. Bend your string. Put it through until the bend. Stop at the bend. And we are going to start to wind it. The first wrap goes above the string peg hole. Every successive wrap is going to go below. That will lock in the string into the tune peg. When you get around to here, pull your string up tight. When it starts to grunt, you're there. You don't need to go any farther than that. It will break angle. Now I love Gibsons because the headstock bends down. Fenders don't do that. They're straight, and you have to pay a lot more attention to break angle. But break angle is going over and down. If you don't have proper break angle and string wraps and lock your string in, you're going to get buzzing up here, and we don't want that. So I'm going to pause while I put the rest of these strings on, and we will get right back at you. Stand by. Okay, so everything is in. We have strung up our Gibson Les Paul Standard. We checked all of our measurements before we started restringing it. We have cleaned it. You can even see that the pickup covers are nice and clean and everything's shiny and new again. I put new strings on there, and I showed you the first one, but we're going to tune it up now. And dead on. Now, of course, I'm only going to get lucky on the first one. The low E was dead on. And you know this exercise, you get him up to pitch. He plays in 440. And then we're going to stretch him. Everything is seated in the saddles correctly. Everything is seated in the nut correctly. We took a little pencil and we lubed up the nut slots. We have correct wraps on every single peg head. I'm loving this. Let's just stretch them a bit because that's what we need to do. Yeah, you see something just went, which is probably one of the wraps on that string. And again, you don't have to go nuts with this. Just pull them up a little bit. They're going to stretch on their own over the next week or so. And they should all be flat. Yep. Always the G string. He's the rotten kid in class that as soon as the teacher turns around, he starts throwing spitballs and erasers. It's one of those cosmic things we just can't explain. Always the G string. This guitar is so stable. I love this instrument. Dead on. Dead on. Dead on. Dead on. Sorry, I'm looking at my tuner for those of you that haven't seen this before. Dead on. I love this guitar. And there's the G, went sharp. I don't know why. Let's just see where the intonation is. Dead on. No, it's right there. B. B as in boy. Gotta love Gibson. Now remember, I've had this guitar in my shop many times. This is a really good customer. He brings this to me every time it needs to be cleaned, restrung, and set up. All of those adjustments are the same, and I've said this many times before, and I'm gonna hope that some of you get a chuckle out of it. The Guitar Fairy doesn't come in the middle of the night and start screwing around with this stuff and putting the screwdriver. Once you set this, it should stay there. What can change is neck relief, and we're going to go back to check that now that we have new strings on it. I just can't stop going back to these two saddles being backwards, but we're going to leave it because he loves the way that it plays. Now, remember, when we were cleaning this guitar, these things probably got moved around a little bit, so don't be surprised if our string height needs to be adjusted. And that can be a trial because with tunamatics, you have to loosen the string tension and go. But let's at least take a measurement and see what it says. Get my bionic eyes on. And I like 4 or just under 5 or right at 4 on the low E. It's right at 4. And I like 3. That's a little low on that side. That tells me that, yeah, that's low on this side. I moved that tunematic around a little bit. It's a little too far down. I'm going to pause while I get that right where I want it. And the way you do that is you just kind of move these. You bring them up or down. Should be just over 4/64, just under 5/64 on the low E, and it should be right around 3 or just over 364s on the high E. Stand by. Okay, so we're all tuned up. We have the intonation set. I do not like that these are facing that way, and I do not like that these two saddles are facing the wrong way. But we're going to leave it. And interestingly enough, the E and the A are 1/8 of a cent off on the intonation, which is no ear can pick that up. And these are the two saddles that are facing, the bevel is going this way instead of this way to follow the way the string comes across. Every other string, the intonation is dead on, balls accurate. It's an industry term, look it up. Love this guitar, beautiful. It strung up, it cleaned up, we did a full setup. I'm going to do one last measurement before we let you go. I'm sorry, I lied. 2 last measurements. We're going to check our neck relief, which is capo at the 1st fret. Get you in here. Capo at the 1st fret. Grab the body joint. 7th fret should be 12/1000 of an inch. Dead on. Just kissing the feeler gauge. I have just over 4/64 on the low E, and I have just over. I mean, you can't even tell the difference. It's immeasurable. Just over 3/64 on the high E. This thing plays like a dream. It's ready to go. I'm Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Thanks for playing along. Like and subscribe. If you dig what I do, get on there and tell everybody. Don't be afraid to give me comments. I respond to everyone as much as I can. I shouldn't say everyone, but as much as I can. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.